In the house I saw light where she was standing, by the French windows. She held her hand up to it, and I watched as the light broke over her skin and fluctuated, warming the colour of her hand. The colour of her grey eyes against the sheets, her freckled nose and white shirt, her glasses and grey-green eyes, her small freckled nose, which looked good against the sheets. These qualities, against the fact of their billowing, flickering, cast doubt, made memory. From the patio, dusk was situated in a way that it dimmed, like a dream, the atmosphere or moment outside. We could see from the lounge a dim, pervasive light, faint glow. The timelessness of an individual moment barely asserts itself. The grown-up trellis leading to a small forest at the back flickered. It's a narcissistic flight, a decision to be young that makes her young, to do the thing that sounds like fun. Unattainability. Light. Light flickering over the hill. Light flickering on a long drive from the car window. They spent the night at her house. I made a girl pregnant at university, I confessed to her suddenly. Oh yeah? What did... She shook her head shyly and burst out laughing. She reminded me of someone I used to know as a child. Hung fireflies, dim house party corners. This is what has happened to me. It occurred to me. I'm in bed with her, with this girl. This is happening now. What? I don't know what I mean. Her, she giggled with a grinding, ingratiating cuteness. God, this reminds me so much of this time when I was in a room. Is it okay? I was in a room with these girls my mum knew. She knew their mums. I paused, all of a sudden nervous of every significant detail. I inhaled, almost shocked and impressed at the memory, which had formed itself so clearly and generously, lit a small light bulb, a small wad of light in the meaninglessness of my brain. We used to go around there, I tried tentatively, and play Goosebumps, Escape to Horrorland on the PC. She giggled in slight, polite recognition. God, Tip was perfect. That's one of the clearest memories. I'd love to get there, to get that. I was gently strangling something small and invisible, pumping it like a stress toy, crushing, making a movement like I was pinching something, crushing a ball of paper. It was a party, or we were all there. There are a lot of parties. I have so many memories of these things. That's so dreamlike. It feels exactly like it didn't happen. Not like it happened in another life, but like it happened in the life. You know? It's that significant. Every day is just a placebo or something. Or like a stopgap from dreams. That was where it all happened. How could we forget? It's so important, you know? She was staring at the ceiling. I wish my mum was alive, she said. I saw immediately the care I could only ever feel for her in saying that, like she had brought a revelation, which in real life she had. But I leant out to stroke her hair from her forehead. It was as if she had shown me, like kindness, something more important than what I had been talking about as a kind of pure supreme light shining at the end of an ancient tunnel underground as a kind of teamwork. She had been laughing silently at something. Then she sighed. "Ah, this is nice," she said. "Yeah," I said. "It's a nice nicey thing." And then I twitched my nose. My eyesight was beginning to flutter with a not entirely pleasant queasiness, an insistent, incorrect pleasure, like arousal in a public space. Then I said, after a pause, "Have you got anything you'd like to say?" She thought for a second. "I'm not sure," she sighed. "God, I love this music." "I know, it's good, isn't it?" I said after a while. "God," she was looking at me. "Andy, it's so beautiful." "I know," I said. "It's like heaven, or harps." Then we began touching each other. We were both coming up. I remember the feeling of her beige cardigan sleeve, which I hadn't realised she was wearing, hugging her arm tightly. The sleeve was tight to her arm, seeming intensely, incredibly at the edge of beauty. That was also some distant appreciation of softened fabric, hair, and also her skin and the smell of her lips and neck, the general spatial awareness of her lips, their wetness, the wetness of her breath, the dryness of her wrists, and the cluttered, complex, thrown-togetherness of her. I felt relaxed by the knowledge I was loved by someone inside and out. I analysed how I had attempted to establish a cinematic environment by kissing her at the end of a sentence, to stress what I imagined to be mutually understood as the importance of what we were doing, as observed by our conviction that what we were doing had worth to outsiders, whatever stood in the place of God, a sentient camera, the fact of the story coming together, which I analysed, but it did work, and I did lose myself. A house at night has a silence that is irreplaceable. In the day, all the houses, all those tripped times through corridors, all those women, men you chose to sleep with but did not fall in love with, all those glistening memories, the mysteries that never really die, they never die. When she was wearing nothing, I spent a lot of time looking at her and at her hair, which was light brown and fell to the side of her face. She began talking. "I like being in this hotel room with you," she said. "It's not a hotel," I said. "It's your house." She raised her hand to her mouth and gasped. "I didn't say that, did I? Oh, God." She started to get slightly nervous, raised her hand to her chest. "It's okay, Alice," I said. I had her lie down and gave her a massage. Her shoulders felt thin, her bones small in my hands. The experience was vivid. "That's good, keep doing that," she said. "Don't ever stop doing that. Don't stop, never stop." Then she laughed at herself. "The NHS," she whispered. When I was lying on top of her, looking at her hair, my mouth pressed against it. "Did she get rid of that baby?" Yeah, I said. Exhaling blissfully and touching her wet red cunt, rolling around the sheets in frustrated happiness. I want to fuck, she said. I really want to fuck. Her face was red, glowing with childish enjoyment. I'm nothing. Fuck me. I laughed. It was very amusing. She laughed, but she was staring jaggedly. She went into my boxes and found me not just limp, but non-existent. Oh, she said. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. I laughed. This is a bit weird, but I've got some Jimmy Razor in my bag, if you like. She was breathing heavily. Of course, we don't have to, but I just really want to fuck. She exhaled the last 5 words. She skipped across the laminate floor to go to the toilet. We were having sex. It was that feeling you always knew it would be like. Warm, in the way you imagine heroin to be. A very real form of contact. A throbbing, most agreeable pulse that feels like the insistent colour swarm of orange sunlight behind your closed eyelids. I said, "Is it good? Do you like that, you fucking real person? Is it good? Do you like that?" Talking to her in a juvenile way, with downward inflections as if she were a child. You like to be pretty, but you like to be fucked. Is that it? You pretty thing. I could barely rape. Oh, you fucking beauty. I can see the angels. She said, fuck me, choke me. I love you, I'm so in love with you, I've always been in love with myself. God, fuck me in the ass. God, fuck, this is so real. Her anus was incredibly tight and clenched around my finger. Please choke me, she said with real, crushed emotion, on tenterhooks as I slipped my finger into her, which she responded to with a kind of numbed enjoyment on her face. I flipped her over and choked her gently with my thumb. Choke me, she said, grinding her teeth and looking at me, her face warm from having been choked. Choke me. This is real, I thought. This is life. This is my life. Her lips had been a mauve colour, but that had mostly come off now. Against the white sheets, I was aware she was really naked. The gradation of flat, pale skin towards her mound of hair. She was really fucking naked and good. Natural, pretty as a painting. I couldn't believe she would let me do this to her. It seemed so generous. Shocking. You almost gasp when you hear it, that light. I was in love generally, and didn't want it to end. It convinced me it would not end. It would only change into a harboured thought more profound than what it had felt like to be in love. But it did happen. It changed, and I felt... It couldn't be believed that the life we happened to be living at that minute presented such quintessential goodness or beauty, or that the house moved you because you saw the way things could be. You saw, for example, cherry tree orchards drifting. It was the calmest love, the most beautiful, hurtful bit of emotion. It was like we had already taken a piss, we were so calm. We were convinced that this was what beauty was, that life had no pain, that pain was, finally, an invention of others. Everything was profound and nothing mattered, not even this sentence. We got in the car, and already, as I started the engine in first gear, removing it from neutral, the sun began to nudge me, the gilded light battling and flashing around me. I missed the sheets. Looking back from the car, I expected to see them. They're covering the rear windshield. I don't know if I can do it, I said. It's foggy outside. The fog outside the house had spread like wildfire. The crisp nothingness, white plumes in the distance, like half-loaded Silent Hill mist. Pure bliss, she kept saying. Pure bliss. In the fog, she called out to me, "There's nothing here!" She was ecstatic. Then we found each other in the fog and embraced for a few seconds.